Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 31. 31 weeks of these, and I do not regret it. Today we're doing something a little different. We are doing a fish that you've definitely heard of this time. We normally do fish that people haven't really had much experience with. However, this is definitely one you have heard of and probably have had it on your dining room table. Today, we are going to be talking about the Pacific halibut. Pacific halibut is part of the family Pleuronectidae. Pleuronectidae is the family of right-eye flounders. And I'm starting out with family because I want to make it very clear the difference between a right-eye flounder and a left-eye flounder. There are two families of flatfish, kind of flounders as you might call it. So right-eye flounders, they lie on the bottom with their left side and the eyes are on their right side. Whereas left eye would be the exact opposite. And the left-eye flounders are part of the family Paralicthiidae. Sorry, it takes me a little bit to say that one. So left-eye flounders, right-eye flounders, so this is the right side, and that's really important. It's looking from the tail fin back, the fish's right side, so the eyes are on the fish's right side and the bottom is on the left side. Now, I do want to make it very clear that there is a very small chance, I believe the research said it was about 1 in 20,000, that it can go the other way, that a Pacific halibut can go on the left side, become a left eye, but predominantly it's going to be on the right eye. So, here's a picture. I do apologize. It was very hard to find pictures of this that wasn't someone holding these up. So, again, Pacific flounder, or Pacific halibut, scientific name Hippoglossus stenolepis. Again, that is Hippoglossus stenolepis. For those of you who might want to know about the scientific name. But it is found on the continental shelf of the North Pacific Ocean and Bering Sea, so you can think kind of on the Arctic Circle sort of thing on the Pacific side. There is an Atlantic halibut who kind of goes along the Greenland coast and things like that, so above Europe. They are a demersal fish, as many people are aware. A demersal fish means that it lives on the bottom of the ocean, not necessarily has to be directly on the bottom, although predominantly it is. But it does move between shallow and deep water. These things are usually found anywhere from 20 feet to 1,000 feet. So they'll move up into the shallows, especially during the summer months, and feed. And then they'll go in the deeper water, especially around breeding time. And that's not to say, though, that these can't be found even deeper. These have been found as deep as 3,600 feet, so they can get way, way down there. As you can imagine, with these sorts of fish, they prefer much, much, much colder waters. They prefer water temps ranging from about 3 to 8 degrees Celsius, so about 37.5 to 46.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're pretty close to just ice cold water at that depth, and they are definitely thrive in that water. Now, I did find this little drawing, which I felt was really good, and that's what we'll go to kind of talk about their body shape. So as you can see, they do have a diamond sort of body shape. And it's very important to note that they have an elongated dorsal fin, which would be the fin on the back. And they have an elongated anal fin as well. So they're, really long. Probably when they're younger, Anubis, who asked, is there a defense mechanism to bury themselves in the sand? But when you get older, these things are big, real big. Now, these Pacific halibut are a little more elongated than most of your flatfish. The width of them only being about 1/3 of the length. Most of your flatfish are actually a little bit thicker than that. Just a little fun thing. And I imagine it has to do with how much these things swim compared to other fish. Something else to note that actually does help with their swimming ability, unlike most other flatfish, your flounders and things like that, these have a crescent shaped tail. Most of your other flounders and other flatfish, they have a rounded tail. They're not swimming near as much as these halibut are. So this tail shape really helps them to go look for active food and to swim around. These look smooth, but they actually do have scales. The scales are actually embedded in the skin. So they do have a dark side of their, they have a dark side and a light side. So what the side that goes to the bottom would be their lighter color. So their belly, might want to say, even though their belly is not really their belly, it's actually their side. And then their other side is going to be a dark, and that's their bicoloration camo that we've talked about so much in this in these videos. You know, bicoloration camo, you're talking about dark on the top and light on the bottom. And the reason for that is if you're above the fish looking down, it's blending in to the substrate, into the bottom of the ocean. And if you're looking from below it, it's blending into the top of the water, so the sunlight. Now, as far as size goes, only the Atlantic halibut is larger. So it is the largest flatfish except for the Atlantic halibut. There's some debate on whether or not this is the largest one or the Atlantic one. But in terms of size, as you can see here, this thing is big. It can get massive. These can weigh up to 500 pounds, which is about 230 kilograms, and they can grow to over 8 feet, which is about 2.5, 2.4 meters long. They can get really, really big. That's a lot of food right there. Something to note on these things will eat everything, and that's because they can swim very well. Actually, they don't swim, they're not slow. These things can swim fast. They'll eat fish, so think like cod, turbot, pollock. They'll eat those. They will eat invertebrates. They will eat octopus, crab, shrimp, especially when they're younger. They're really going after those crabs and shrimps. But they will actually leave the bottom of the ocean to feed on pelagic fish, so fish that are swimming in the open ocean. They're gonna eat. They've been known to eat salmon. They've been known to eat sand lance, and they've been known to eat herring. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I don't know why, but there have been seal remains found in their stomach. Again, seal remains. I don't know if they found a dead seal and ate on it, or if these things would actively eat a small seal. So I can't 100% say one way or another. They are a good enough size that they could probably come upon an injured seal and eat it. Just saying. So yes, they are strong swimmers. That also really helps with them because these actually migrate very, very long distances. In fact, they predominantly moved in a clockwise pattern from northwest to southeast sort of migration. And the reason why that is because of how they spawn. So during the winter months, the spawning will take place on the edge of the continental shelf, so right on the edge of really deep ocean. Normally their spawning is somewhere between 600 and 1,500 feet, so that's about 180 to about 450 meters deep. And the females will lay anywhere between 500,000 and 4 million eggs annually. So 500,000 to 4 million. It depends on the body size of the female. They can lay a lot of eggs. But what happens is when those eggs hatch, those eggs will hatch, and the larva will actually go pretty much to the top of the water column, and they will float. They're free floating. It isn't actually something to know that when they are a larva, when they're baby fish, their eyes are normal. They got one eye on each side of the head. But the currents during that time, the currents move in a counterclockwise, so this is counterclockwise for me, so I imagine that's clockwise for you. But anyway, imagine in your head, the currents in the North Pacific Ocean move in a counterclockwise pattern. And so that's why what they're doing is those larvae will go up, and and they were floating, and they're eating little plankton and things like that, and they're floating around, and they're just moving in this counterclockwise pattern. And then as they grow up, they start going down to the bottom, and in that time, that's when their eye will actually just start shifting to the side of their head, and then when it kind of fully goes over, they're big enough that they will go down. So they've moved in a counterclockwise pattern, and then they have a settlement area. So that's where they go from being a free-floating larva down to like a bottom fish, and then they just kind of move in a clockwise pattern back. So they're just almost making this sort of moon shape pattern. Zoop, 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 zoop. So that's really interesting. Now these are very heavily fished. Very, very heavily fished. There is commercial fishing, there is sport fishing, and it's also very important to note that there's native Pacific Coast islanders, or Inuits, other native, I don't want to say Native Americans, but native indigenous people that have grown up on these tiny fishing villages. They've lived there forever. They also fish for these. They'll smoke them to eat over the course of the winter. So it is very important to note those. However, those aren't really regulated to the point that commercial and sport fishing is. There's actually an international council to make sure that these fish are not over-harvested and that their populations don't crash, especially considering that over-harvesting is usually one of the biggest reasons why fish populations decline. However, it does seem like the Pacific halibut is doing pretty well, so I would definitely don't want to deter anyone from eating it. I personally love halibut, but definitely just keep your eye, make sure things are taken in a safe and legal manner. Now, as I do want to, on the 2 million eggs, how many will hatch? You're probably going to have about, I want to say that the general rule of thumb is 30%. Was it 30? I want to say I think the general rule of thumb was 30%. So however many eggs get laid, only 30% will hatch, and then only 30% will survive the first 24 hours, and then only like 30% survive past the first week. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's how they go. But as many of you know, I like to try and end these videos, both the Herp Monday and the Fish Friday video, on a interesting fact about the fish. And something that I found that was interesting, that is just kind of funny. It's not really a fact, it's not really a thing about the fish. It's that in the fishing world, a large halibut is called a barn door, and a small halibut is called a chicken. Just a little interesting nickname for them. I thought that was a really cool little fun factoid. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I would really appreciate it. Yes, please. Still waiting on someone to comment to give me a fish they would like to see. Next week will be a freshwater fish, and if I don't get a comment, I already have one picked out for you, and it's going to be a good one. But once again, thank you guys so much again. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace.